Today's tech news moves fast, but understanding it shouldn't be hard. That's why Snarful Solutions Group brings you Connecting the Dots, where we break down what's happening in tech and why it matters to you. Now, let's dive in with your hosts.
All right. Welcome in, everyone, to Connecting the Dots. Snarful Solutions Group's take on, well, all the tech news that's kind of shaping the world around us. It's March 31st, and
March 31st already.
I know, right? Time flies when you're knee-deep in headlines.
That's the truth.
And we've got some pretty juicy ones today. Some you've probably caught wind of already, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Definitely making the rounds.
So today, we're diving deep, really unpacking these things and figuring out what they actually mean for, for you out there listening.
Absolutely. We've gone beyond just the headlines. We've read through the deeper reports and tried to pull out the insights that matter.
Think of it like, like we're your shortcut to understanding all the chaos in tech these days, cutting through the noise,
Exactly.
So the big focus today, and this is interesting, it's all about the Trump family.
Okay.
And their kind of growing presence in the whole crypto world.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah, we're going to look at two main things. One, their move into this whole Bitcoin mining thing. Yeah. And two, their existing involvement with a company called World Liberty Financial.
World Liberty Financial. Okay.
Yeah. So let's start with this new venture that's got everyone talking, American Bitcoin. Right off the bat, it sounds like a big deal,
Yeah, it does. It really does. I mean, the headline is that Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump,
the sons,
right, are merging their company, American Data Centers, with another company called Hut 8. And Hut 8 is already a Bitcoin mining firm.
So they're already in the game.
They're already in the game, yeah. And the new company that they form will be called American Bitcoin.
Okay.
And the Trump brothers will hold, I think it's a 20% stake.
Oh, wow.
But here's the kicker. Hut 8 is bringing something like 61,000 mining machines to the table.
61,000.
61,000 mining machines. That's huge.
That's a whole lot of machines.
Yeah, so that's a pretty big operation right from the start.
Yeah. Okay. So let's break this down. For the average person out there, what are like the ripple effects of something like this? I mean, why should we even care? Beyond just a business deal happening.
Right. Well, I think on a basic level, it kind of shows that Bitcoin and the whole cryptocurrency world, it's moving more and more into the mainstream, right?
Yeah, becoming more accepted.
Yeah, and when you have people like the Trump family who are, let's face it, very prominent figures.
Right.
And they're making such a big investment in the infrastructure of it, in the mining itself. It tells you they think this is going to stick around. It's not just a fad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly. So I think it suggests a much longer-term belief in the value and the potential of Bitcoin.
So it's another signal that crypto is like really trying to become a more normal part of the financial world.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And this venture, they're not messing around. They want to be a major player globally. Eric Trump actually compared Bitcoin to real estate.
Oh, wow.
He called it a hard asset, and I think that speaks to that long-term view they have. And on top of that, they've said they want to build a Bitcoin reserve. Yeah, they're going to hold on to the Bitcoin they mine.
Like how a company would hold gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Now, earlier you mentioned a potential impact on efficiency.
Yeah.
So how could their approach to this, how could it actually affect the Bitcoin mining process itself?
Right. Well, American Bitcoin, they're really emphasizing using low-cost energy in their data centers. They were talking about North American data centers specifically.
Okay.
And if they can actually get more efficient mining through, having access to cheaper power, it could actually change the whole conversation around Bitcoin's energy consumption.
Yeah, that's been a big criticism, right?
Absolutely. And it makes sense, right? I mean, more efficient mining could lead to, a smaller environmental footprint per Bitcoin mined. In theory, at least.
Right. So if they can pull that off, that efficiency thing, it could be a good thing for the environment.
Yeah, definitely a potential positive there.
Now, I did notice that there was a distinction made between American Bitcoin and the Trump Organization.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So why is that separation? Why is that important?
Well, on paper, they're supposed to be separate entities, but it's hard to ignore the fact that, former President Trump himself, he was talking about a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve. a while back.
Mm-hmm.
And American Bitcoin wanting to build their own reserve, well, it lines up with that idea,
Yeah, very interesting.
And it makes you think, like, could we see cryptocurrencies become a bigger part of, national economic strategy in the future?
That's a really interesting thought. It's like Bitcoin becomes more than just, something individuals invest in.
Yeah, or
Or companies, right. It becomes something much bigger. And then you have Donald Trump Jr.'s comment, saying that mining is a more direct way to be a part of Bitcoin's growth. Like, how could that change things for people who are, interested in getting into crypto?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. It could shift people's thinking away from just buying and selling Bitcoin,
Hmm.
and maybe make them more interested in the foundational stuff, like the mining itself, contributing to the network through mining. Of course, that's not easy for most people to do, but, maybe it'll lead to more people investing in companies that do the mining, right? It's just a different way of thinking about getting involved.
Yeah, a different angle. Okay, so let's switch gears a bit here. Let's talk about World Liberty Financial now. This is another venture linked to the Trump family. And it seems like it's already made some waves, brought in a good chunk of money.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So reportedly, World Liberty Financial has raised, get this, over $550 million.
$750 million.
Over $550 million, yeah, through selling these things called governance tokens. They call them WLFI. WLFI, yeah. And they've also got plans to launch a stablecoin called USD1, which would be, pegged to the US dollar.
Okay, stablecoin. So that means theoretically its value should stay pretty much the same as the dollar, right?
Right. Yeah. Unlike Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies that fluctuate wildly.
Yeah, those are all over the place.
Right. Exactly. But here's the thing that's kind of unusual about World Liberty Financial. It's their model, the way they've set things up. So unlike a lot of these decentralized finance projects where governance tokens are, freely traded and ownership is kind of spread out,
Right.
the WLFI tokens, these things, they're reportedly non-tradable.
Oh, wow.
And on top of that, reports are suggesting that the Trump family actually has a claim on a big chunk, something like 75% of the net revenue from these token sales.
75%.
Yeah, it's pretty concentrated.
So for our listener, that sounds like a pretty centralized system then, right? How does that compare to the whole decentralized idea that's often associated with crypto?
It's almost the opposite, really. I mean, a lot of people are drawn to cryptocurrency because they like the idea of decentralization,
No central authority?
Exactly, power spread out. But the way WLFI is structured with these non-tradable tokens and all that potential revenue going to just a few people, it raises some questions, how decentralized is this really? And who's actually benefiting the most? It's not like those community-driven crypto projects that a lot of people are excited about.
Right, right. So it sounds like, if you're looking at different crypto projects, the governance, who's in control and how decisions are made, it can be wildly different from one to the next.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And this World Liberty Financial situation, it's a perfect example of that, and something to be really mindful of if you're thinking about getting involved in crypto. Now, let's talk about this USD1 stablecoin they want to launch. There are already some big players in that world, right? Like Tether and USDC.
Yeah, they're the big ones.
So what makes USD1 potentially different? Why would it stand out?
Well, they're saying that USD1 will be fully backed by traditional assets, specifically U.S. treasuries and cash.
Okay.
So they're really emphasizing these traditional regulated assets.
So it's less like crypto-backed, more like real-world backed.
Right, exactly. And the idea is that this will make USD1 less risky compared to other stablecoins, that maybe have more complex or less transparent backing.
So for big institutions, investors who might be a little wary of, the volatility or the backing of some existing stablecoins, USD1 could seem like a safer bet.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? And the co-founder of World Liberty Financial even said that it could make cross-border transactions easier for those big players. So if USD1 gains traction and people start using it widely, it could really change how big amounts of money are moved around internationally.
Yeah, streamlining thing.
But as you mentioned earlier, the stablecoin market, it's already pretty crowded.
Yeah, lots of competition.
And it's one thing to launch a stablecoin, but getting people to actually use it, that's the real
You
challenge.
need a whole ecosystem, right? Places where it's accepted, traded.
Absolutely. You got to build that whole network of users, and make sure it works with all the existing crypto infrastructure. That's not easy.
No, that's the hard part.
And then you have the whole Trump family connection, right?
Right.
Which, on the one hand, it's going to get a lot of attention,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
but it also brings in all these potential political and ethical considerations.
Especially with their goal to, like, overhaul U.S. rules on crypto, right?
Exactly. So you've got these financial ambitions mixed with political agendas, and all of this is happening in a world where the rules around crypto are still being figured out.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Wild West out there still.
It really is.
So it's definitely something to watch closely and think about, you know. So to recap our deep dive today, we looked at two major moves by the Trump family to the crypto world.
Right.
First, American Bitcoin, their entry into Bitcoin mining on a pretty massive scale.
61,000.
61,000 machines, aiming for that efficiency and building that strategic reserve.
Yeah.
This whole thing just shows how Bitcoin is becoming more mainstream, and it could have a big impact on how mining is done and even the environmental concerns around it.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we talked about World Liberty Financial and their plans for the USD1 stablecoin, along with all the scrutiny, their governance structure, and those WLFI tokens.
Centralized, yeah.
Yeah, very centralized. And their stablecoin ambitions just show how competitive that market is becoming, and how the way we think about digital dollars, how we move them and hold them, well, it's changing.
Yeah, I think that's a great summary. These developments, they really highlight how dynamic and how quickly things are evolving, both in the world of tech and finance.
Yeah, and it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the players, who's involved, and what they're ultimately trying to achieve.
Right, exactly.
So, these developments in the crypto world are just a snapshot of this ever-changing landscape, this world of tech. And it's important to not only understand what's going on, but also what it could mean for you and the economy as a whole.
I think that's a great point. These stories really showcase how technology, finance, and even politics all intersect, and we need to think about the long-term implications of these trends, where they might lead us.
We hope this deep dive into today's top tech news has been helpful in connecting the dots for you. We are here to help here at Snarful, so reach out on our website if you have any more questions.
That's a wrap on today's top stories. Remember, tech doesn't have to be complicated, and we're here to help connect the dots. If you've got questions or want to learn more, visit us at snarful.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.